So, what if I told you that one of the absolute top-tier tests for animal intelligence, a test that's only ever been passed by apes, elephants, and dolphins, has just been totally aced by a tiny little tropical fish? Yeah, today we're diving into one single study that is forcing us to rethink, well, maybe everything we thought we knew about the animal mind.
Think about it for a second. It sounds like such a simple question, right? You look in the mirror, you see your reflection, you wave your hand, the reflection waves back. It's instant. You just know that's you. But that simple, almost unconscious act of recognition is actually one of the most amazing things our brains can do.
And you see, for decades now, scientists have used this exact idea of self-recognition as the ultimate test for animal intelligence. It's been considered the absolute gold standard, a benchmark that's supposed to separate the truly, cognitively advanced species from everybody else.
It's called the Mirror Self-Recognition Test, or the MSR test, and it's actually brilliantly simple. Here's how it works. An animal is secretly marked with, say, a dot of paint on a part of its body it can't see directly, like its forehead. If that animal then goes and looks in the mirror, sees the mark, and then touches the spot on itself, not on the mirror, boom, it passes. That's been seen as ironclad proof that it knows the reflection is its own.
So who's actually in this exclusive club? Well, the list is incredibly short. You've got a few great apes, like chimps. You've got dolphins, elephants, one single species of bird, the magpie, and human toddlers, usually by about 18 months old. For decades, that was it. Seriously, that was the entire list.
But what if I told you that a tiny tropical fish just completely crashed this very exclusive party? It's a finding that has thrown this entire field of research into absolute chaos. And it all starts with a very, very unlikely candidate.
Okay, so meet our protagonist, the Cleaner Wrasse. You can find this little guy on coral reefs, where it basically runs these cleaning stations. Other bigger fish actually line up to have this little fish pick parasites right off of their bodies. They might be small, but as we're about to see, they are incredibly clever.
So why this fish? Why pick the Cleaner Wrasse? Well, it turns out to be a perfect, if really surprising choice. For one, its entire life is about spotting tiny little marks, parasites, on other fish. I mean, it's literally what they do all day. They also have surprisingly complex social intelligence, and, most importantly, they have a very specific, easy-to-see way of scratching an itch. They scrape their bodies against rocks or sand. Now remember that scraping motion. It is going to be crucial. Now, before any animal can pass the actual mark test, it has to get used to the mirror, and they almost always go through 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is aggression. They think it's a stranger in their territory, so they attack it. Phase 2 is what scientists call contingency testing, which is basically a fancy way of saying they get weird. They'll do strange dances, swim upside down, all to check if the reflection does the exact same thing at the exact same time. Then, finally, once they figure it out, they move on to Phase 3, and they start using the mirror to check themselves out. And this is exactly what the Cleaner Wrasse did. I mean, look at this chart from the study. It shows it perfectly. Over just a few days, their aggression toward the mirror, that's the red line, completely plummeted. Meanwhile, those weird testing behaviors, the green line, spiked and then faded away. They figured it out. They passed through all the preliminary phases just like a chimpanzee would.
Okay, so the fish has passed the preliminaries. But that's not enough to get into the club. Now comes the real moment of truth, the mark test itself. The researchers carefully placed a tiny, harmless brown mark designed to look just like a parasite right under the fish's throat. Now, this spot is absolutely critical because it is physically impossible for the fish to see it on its own body. The only way it could ever know that mark was there was by seeing its own reflection. So, picture this. The marked fish swims up to the mirror. It angles its body, checking itself out. It sees this strange new mark on its throat. And what happens next? Well, this is the crucial moment of the entire experiment. The fish turned away from the mirror, swam straight to the bottom of the tank, and scraped its throat, the exact spot where the mark was, against the sand. It performed that one specific behavior it uses to remove an irritant from its own body. It was trying to scrape the mark off.
And this wasn't some fluke. 3 out of the 4 fish that were tested did this. And crucially, they only scraped their throats after seeing the mark in the mirror. Control fish that didn't have a mirror didn't scrape. Fish that had a clear, invisible mark injected didn't scrape. The action was a direct response to seeing that mark on their own reflection.
So, by the classic definition of the test, The Cleaner Wrasse passed. It's a monumental finding that forces us to ask a much, much bigger and way more complicated question. What does this actually mean?
I mean, does this tiny fish really possess a sense of self? Is it self-aware in the same way we believe a chimpanzee or a dolphin is? This single, completely unexpected result has ignited a fierce, fierce debate in the scientific community.
The researchers themselves lay out 3 possible ways to look at this. Interpretation 1. The fish failed. The behavior just looks like it's passing, but it's not true self-recognition. 2. The fish passed, fair and square, and we just have to accept that fish are self-aware, which would totally upend our understanding of animal cognition. Or 3, and this is where it gets really fascinating, the fish passed the test, but maybe the test itself doesn't measure what we've always assumed it did.
The study's authors actually argue for that third option. They suggest the fish is doing something called self-referencing. Think of it this way. It's kind of like using a video camera to guide a robotic arm. The fish can match the visual data from the mirror to a specific location on its own body. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has an inner feeling of me. And here's the real bombshell. What if this is what chimps and dolphins are doing too? Maybe the test has never been measuring consciousness at all, but a much simpler, more mechanical cognitive skill.
And this brings us to that powerful idea. You've probably heard it before. It's often linked to Einstein. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Maybe the Cleaner Wrasse didn't just pass a test. Maybe it broke our ruler. And that leaves us with a really profound question. If our most trusted tool for measuring animal intelligence is actually flawed, how many other brilliant minds have we simply failed to see?